Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and please I'll not say good night very soon. Welcome to Bahrain Advanced Toastmasters meeting with another version of Old is Gold, OiG. This is DTM Khalid Abdullah. I'm the Sergeant for those who knows me. This is the best role that I have, and I really adore having. So thank you so much, Mr. President, for allowing me to have that spot. Of course, ID, the National Director, DTM Ali Shahbaz, Mr. President, all of the dignitaries in the House. Rules of an online meeting. I'm sure we all know that right now. We memorize this by heart, so I'll skip this part. And I'll go with more interesting part, which is the club mission. So if you are all awake, I can see a few who are opening their camera, which means they are awake. For those who are closing their cameras, I'll assume that you are not awake until you are opening your camera. Jokes apart, please, if you don't mind. There we go. Our dashing master ceremony is opening his camera. If you all can open your camera, please do so. If not, we understand that you are having another commitment. But one thing that we wish to have, yes, I can see more. Okay, ID Ali is right away. I think he's on his way to attend a meeting in Kuwait was supposed to be there. But for all of those who are not able even to open their camera, can you open your mic and just restate or say the club mission with me? Let's have fun with that. Yeah? Great. We provide. I think you can do better. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered. I love that. I just told you to say it though, but you are also copying me. Let's do it this way as well. To develop their communications, and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Amazing. Now you're all awake. Thank you so much for being an amazing audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And now moving on with our agenda. And to take the meeting forward, we have a dashing president who is the Division C director and many more. I would not go through the details. He has been also about to say some secrets about his other club, but we'll keep this apart unless he wants to share it. So please put your hands together to welcome our dashing president, Toastmaster Farooq Adam.
Thank you very much, Sergeant of Arms, our acting Sergeant of DTM Khalid Abdullah, and also our district director for that wonderful Sergeant of Arms opening and keeping us all awake despite the different time zones we are in. Welcome all of you, fellow members and guests, to Bahrain Advanced Toastmasters Club for our yet another session of Old is Gold series. The series we have started was the brainchild of our former presidents, DTM Farhas Farooq and DTM Khalid Abdullah, I believe, to give something back to them, and DTM Ali Shahbaz together to give something back to after the introduction of pathways, to give something back to the community for what they had learned in the traditional path. What they felt was there was some knowledge and value that had been attained that the new members were not aware of, and how to bring that back and repackage it so the new members can learn and go back to the roots and see what the foundations are really built upon. Because what are we without foundations? And we need to be reminded of that. And this is what Old is Gold is about, to bring back our foundations for the benefit of members so they know the solidness of it and build something further upon it. Thank you very much. And with this, let me start, before starting the session, go with the introduction, ask the introduction of certain guests. The keynote speakers, I'll leave it to the master of ceremonies. So let me first start with DTM John. Can you please introduce yourself briefly, please?
Me. I'm John Ledger. I'm the Sergeant at Arms at Berwick Toastmasters in Victoria, and I'll be the president come 1st of July. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, John. Nice to have you here. Can I next go with now Toastmaster Philip? Brief introduction, please.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm Philip. I just joined the Toastmaster Berwick last month. Yeah, I just did my first icebreaker speed there. Yeah, I'm enjoying the journey. I try to improve my communication skill. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Philip. And don't be shy. Just be proud to say that you also, in the first attempt, won your as a best speaker award for your icebreaker.
Thank you.
Be confident.
Yeah,
and
sure.
just trumpet your
I'll try to improve.
Yes. We always improve, don't matter. Even the world champions can always improve themselves, but it's always worthy to, savor our achievements and joys. That's what we do in Toastmasters. Thank you. And next, can I call upon DTM Abdul Fattah to briefly introduce himself, please?
Thank you. My name is DTM Abdul Fattah. I joined Toastmasters in 2015. I'm a member of 6 clubs here in the United States. I'm president of one, VP of another, treasurer of another, and the best one I love is treasurer because it smells the money. I've just finished 7 pathways and started my 8th pathway. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you see, Toastmaster Philip, learning continues forever. As long as you're young at heart, you continue to learn. Thank you, DTM Abdul Fattah. Can I next call upon Toastmaster Dr. Asha Pradeep to briefly introduce herself?
Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, fellow leaders and Toastmasters. I'm from Bahrain Medical Fraternity Toastmasters Club, and I'm the present VPE. I'm also the Area 12 Director-elect for the next term. My journey is only till now 2 years old, but I hope to be in Toastmasters forever and ever. And Old is Gold is one of my favorite sessions to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Dr. Asha. You always bring joy and enthusiasm to every meeting where you come from. Attend. Thank you very much. Can I next call upon Toastmaster Abdullah Madan to briefly introduce himself?
Hello, everybody. This is
Hello.
Toastmaster Abdullah Madan, and I've joined Toastmasters in 2021. And currently, I am the VPE of Injust Toastmasters Club.
Thank you, Toastmaster Abdullah. And Abdullah forgot to mention that he's very competitive. I saw him playing musical chairs once, and he was so competitive. He was literally going to push the other people around just to get the chair. So that's one of the enthusiasms that Abdullah brings to the Toastmasters. Glad to have you here, Toastmaster Abdullah. Can I next call upon Toastmaster Ishwar Chaudham, if I'm pronouncing it correctly? Thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, Ishwar.
Yeah, thank you. This is Ishwar. I am from Golden Falcon Toastmasters Club. I am currently serving as a president for my club. I would like to explore different varieties of flavor in Toastmasters clubs. So I want to learn something from you. I joined today's meeting. Thank you very much for giving the golden opportunity.
Thank you for being here. We learn from each other, Toastmaster Ishwar, and we look forward to your feedback at the end of this session so we can learn from your observations and how we can do better. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Can I next call upon Toastmaster Sharif? If it's around, Toastmaster Sharif. Yes.
Right.
Sorry. Yes, Toastmaster Sharif.
Yeah, I joined the Giza Toastmasters in October 2022. That's a very young club, and I'm probably a very recent member, but I was one of the founders of the club. not in the executive committee of this club, but I'd like to say that I'm an active member. I attended almost every meeting, and I'd like to also participate, take a role in every meeting, and I try a different role every time. I'm very enthusiastic about this endeavor.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sharif. What a wonderful thing to say, and what a wonderful lesson we learned from you.
Thank you so much.
Sometimes not only participating, but just attending, we learn. And that is what Toastmasters is about. Thank you for explaining that to us. Thank you very much. Then I think we have Toastmaster Craig Curtis with us. Toastmaster Craig. Can briefly
Thank you.
introduce
I've been a Toastmaster member since December of 2014, and I'm currently residing in Europe, and I'm a member of 3 clubs, and I'm currently the District 95 social media lead. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to have you here, DTM Craig, and a pleasure to be with us. It's all the way from Europe. Thank you very
I'm
much.
not a DTM. I'm not a DTM.
Sure, but you are dedicated Toastmasters then at least. Thank you, sir. Then we have Toastmaster Tawfiq Kader. Can you briefly introduce yourself, Toastmaster Tawfiq? Are you connected, Toastmaster Tawfiq? Not, we'll come back later. Okay. So just let me just go through the list. Yeah, can I have also, I saw somebody. Yeah, Toastmaster Lemon Curry. Please, can you introduce yourself? Although I can guess.
Yeah, you're very insightful if you figured that one out. Yeah, my name is Lamont Curry. I am the executive assistant for Toastmaster Elaine Curry, who you will meet shortly. I am the president of the St. Clair chapter of Toastmasters in Belleville, Illinois. And I am a DTM.
Thank you, DTM Lemon. Nice to have you here at Bahrain Advanced Toastmasters, and to see that you are supportive of Elaine also in Toastmasters and outside of Toastmasters. Glad to have you here. Great. Thank you, everybody, for the introductions. I see we have somebody logging in twice and being available as a chief judge. So that is a nod to DTM Abdul Fattah, that while judges are secret, chief judges are not. That's a running joke between us, Abdul Fattah, DTM Abdul Fattah, and most of the club members. Thank you very much. Now let us go to, for conducting this event now, we have a talented master of ceremonies who started his Toastmaster journey as a Cavalier at the age of 14. So you can see that even though he's young, he has the experience of most of us combined together. He became one of the youngest DTMs of District 20. At the age of 26, he achieved it first in the traditional path. He is currently working as a fire evacuation drill trainer at the Civil Defense of Bahrain. He loves adventure sports like paragliding, parasailing, bungee jumping, rafting, skydiving, and snorkeling. I envy him. These are things I would like to do. I just did parasailing. I'm going to do the paragliding and those things later on when I get the time. But he says you are your own hero. But DTM Jahangir, now with this sports that you have played, you are now my hero. And I would like to welcome you back, because what many might not know is that DTM Jahangir to us is like a prodigal son. He has returned back to BAT because BAT was his first club. He joined in 2010 after he finished his Gavels Club. So welcome back to our prodigal son, DTM Jahangir. And please give him a round of applause to welcome him as the Master of Ceremonies today.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you so much. Greetings to one and all from around the world. This is DTM Jahangir Khan. I'll be your Master of Ceremonies. Along with that, I will be moderating the panel discussion towards the end. They say that I came across this quotation, and which really caught my eye in the morning itself. Heidi Klum, she says, I believe that when you put a smile out there, you get a smile back. Now, today's theme, which we are having for today, is about service with a smile. Now, something which really comes to my mind is whenever we go to any grocery store or whichever place we are going, wherever we are getting the service, you get that smile from the person attending us. They share the greetings with you. However, something which I realized long back was as soon as you get the greetings, good morning, good afternoon, sir, it all matters how you respond to that as well. Now, if you respond to that, the morale for the person who's providing that service will get higher. Now, something which I started doing long back, as soon as I go to McDonald's or Costa Coffee, wherever coffee store, wherever I go, as soon as I get good morning, I look at the name badge written on the chest of that particular person. Good morning, Ghulam Farooq. How are you doing? Before that person asks me, how am I doing? I ask that person. And from there onwards, I get the best what you can expect from them. So ladies and gentlemen, I believe putting a smile, it's not just the responsibility of the person who is there to attend us. It depends on us as well. And today, while we are all gathered over here, we will be listening to some great speakers. And later on, we will be having the panel discussions followed by the question and answer. Something which I really want from now onwards to be there is instead of putting thumbs up or raising hand, we're not doing that. From now onwards, we will be putting, for anything we need, we will be putting a smiley. Okay? If you have a point, put a smile. Anything from now onwards, we have to put a smile out there. So ladies and gentlemen, to begin with, the first speaker we are having, this speaker has earned 2 Distinguished Toastmaster Title Awards. The first award was earned before the introduction of Pathways in Toastmasters International. That is the traditional educational program. And the second one in the Pathways program. She's a member of District 8 in Region 5. She's retired from a 43-year-old long career in financial services and has worked in Germany and Switzerland, in addition to the United States. She resided in Europe for over 30 years and today is a motivational speaker and a leader mentor. She has spoken extensively at different organizations on the subject of service. Her client scope ranges from youth to seniors. She's excited to share with you today the importance of service, starting from within the external physical trait of a smile. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker number 1 will be sharing on the topic service from the inside out, yours very own Distinguished Toastmaster Elaine Curry.
Thank you so much. It sounds so much better hearing you read it than when I wrote it. It put a smile on my face. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to be here. I was thrilled when the request came asking if I can do this. First of all, in my time zone, it was an early rise, but not unusual. I normally get up, and one of the things my husband would always ask me, what makes you so happy in the morning when you wake up? Because he gets up at about 5 and I follow him at about 6 a.m. our time. And I realized a long time ago how important a smile is to how people see you and how they receive you. From a child, I was called Smiley. When I moved here to where I am now after retirement, sometimes people who don't know me or anything would simply say, what a nice smile, to the extent I didn't realize I was smiling. So I've learned that what has happened, my smile is internalized and it comes out and people see it. Henceforth, the reason for my choosing my title. Let me read something to you that I found that describes what a smile is. And it says, a smile is the form one features into a pleased, kind, or amused expression. However, I added to that definition. So this is not only the definition from Google, this now is the definition from Elaine. And what I realized is smiles can look counterfeit. That's different than when you see me smile and it doesn't go away right away. You may see something else added to the smile. I may nod my head and I may look them and use my eyes. And it's amazing how people receive that greeting over a greeting that is stone-faced, looking straight ahead, trying to avoid the expression on the other person's face. I try to attract the expression on the other person's face because it's important. Why, you say? What does that have to do with service? You will be amazed. So much of my opportunities have come from someone who remembered the smile. And as a Toastmaster, this is something we really want to try to achieve. If I'm going to attract people to come to Toastmasters, sometimes people will sarcastically say, so what are you smiling about? And I use the opportunity. I'm a Toastmaster. What's that? I said, I'm going to change the expression on that face in just a minute because you're going to hear about something that you're going to want to know more about. That's what we want to do as ambassadors for Toastmasters when we're outside of the meeting. Oftentimes, we only practice our gestures because we're waiting for the evaluator to say, oh, you use good gestures. It's on the evaluation form. It asks you to rate them. How good were their gestures? I cry if I don't get a 5. I want people to know I am making this from the inside. It's important for me to know sometimes words don't always have the same meaning when they're received by other people. Some people will hear something and somebody else will say something and they heard it totally different. So a smile comes not only from the gesture you make with your mouth, but the gestures you make with your hands, the body language that you exude, all of that brings people to want to know more. I don't know how many of you think about, will I meet someone today that may ask me a question about Toastmasters? Probably not. If you're on your way out the door, you're either going to work, to the store, to visit someone, and the last thing on your mind is, am I going to meet someone who may want to know about Toastmasters? Well, I can tell you, that is a lot on my mind when I meet someone. I was at an event 2 days ago, and I started talking with somebody I didn't know, but I always take the opportunity to meet someone new. After we finished discussing, she asked me, you know, I really have a desire to travel because I always speak about my travels. I traveled extensively, as you heard in the introduction. I lived in Germany and in Switzerland. The time I was in Europe, I took full advantage. So I've been a lot of places, and our conversation led us there. We finally decided we wanted to connect. How do you think I connected with her? Just guess in your own mind. I am going to tell you. I carry around my Toastmaster business cards. I have the one as region advisor, and I have the one as district director, and I have the one when I was just Toastmaster, which is okay. And so rather than people today are not so eager to give out their phone numbers or things like that, and I understand why. So what I did was I pulled out a card, and I know people don't like adding a lot of stuff, and I asked her to take her camera and take a picture. And on that card are all of my details. And guess what? That night at 11:30 at night, now I'm an early riser, but I also go to bed early too. And the opening message said, "Please forgive me for sending this so late." And I thought, oh, it's okay. I'm not going to get up to answer it, but I did answer it in the morning. Henceforth, she said to me, "I noticed your card says Toastmaster." She said, "Tell me more about it." Little did I think that that short encounter at an event that we both were at would lead me to telling my story. Let me just encourage everybody here, and I think there's enough experience here and you all have your story as to what is your elevator speech. What is something you can say very briefly? If you try to occupy too much of a person's time that doesn't know you, quickly they will find a reason to say, "Oh, sorry, I gotta go." Even if they don't have to go, but that's okay. I've learned it and I realize how important it is. So if I have nothing more to give them, I give them that smile. And it started from when they first connected. How you connect with people starts from your inside. I will see a person as well, that sometimes they're smiling and I'm thinking to myself, why are they smiling? What's making them smile as we walk toward each other, going our opposite directions to wherever we're going? And I realize it's because we are constantly seeking our inside expression of what we feel when we see people. This is a powerful tool. It's powerful to know what's going on in the inside. Sometimes it's not always pleasant, not always a smile. Sometimes you see people who may be absolutely absorbed in thought because they think, I'm going through something and it's not something that I really want to look at somebody and smile. It happened to me on a plane once. I was sitting next to somebody and I was ready to go to sleep because I knew I had a long travel. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, we don't know each other. I reared back and she said, "I think we were placed here together." And I thought, oh dear. You ever get those people? You get on a plane and they are ready to talk. And I'm thinking, this is not how I planned this trip to go. I had about 12 hours to fly and I'm thinking, I need rest and I need sleep. But you know what? I never pass up an opportunity. So I had to dig deep down on my inside, pull up my smile and ask her, why do you think we were meant to sit together? Well, I learned a lot about some of the trouble she was going through. And before I knew it, we had flown 6 hours with her telling me her story. I politely nodded, really? Oh, really? And you are amazed at how good it was making her feel. Now, I was tired and sleepy, but nonetheless, never, ever pass up an opportunity to help someone. That's what service is all about. And down the road, even though you don't think you're ever going to see that person again, you will be amazed. So I loved the theme for this meeting that we're having right now. And I thought, gee, how did the person find me that decided to invite me here? How did they know that I'm a smiling person who loves service? Well, like that girl told me on the plane, something triggered for them to contact me. So of course, I jumped at the opportunity. Of course I will, until I looked up on Google and said, now what's the time difference between them and us, to make sure that I could have that smile on my face when I got up this morning. See, you guys, I didn't look like this when I first woke up. I went and did a few little things to make it look just a little bit more attractive. So hopefully it's pleasing to your eyes. But let's get back to service. What are we here doing? What drives us to continue to come to Toastmasters meetings, to tell somebody else the story, and to encourage them to want to improve themselves? And that's where we really have an opportunity, and you have an opportunity. And I am pleased to just share these stories with you, as well as my philosophy, my strategy, because I also spend a lot of time working with the youth. How many of you know that the youth don't openly start smiling when they see you walking down the street? They could care less. Most of them are engrossed in their phone. They're not even looking up. Sometimes I want to just stand in front of them and have them bump into me. But nonetheless, there are ways to reach our youth as well. And you will be surprised when you finish, that internal desire that you had comes outside, and next thing you know, you're engaged in a conversation, and guess what they're doing? You know what I think. They're smiling because you've reached them. A smile goes a long way to reach people. And that goes not only for the youth, it goes for the seniors. It's an amazing thing, because seniors are open. They will talk to you. They'll say, oh, you have such a nice smile. I said, oh, you're making me blush. Am I smiling bigger now? Probably. But I love the element service. It's so much ingrained inside of me that I wondered how come it took Toastmasters so long to find me. Well, let me quickly tell you that story. My husband, who happens to be online listening, we were at his aunt's 75th birthday party. And all of the relatives that were around, they were going around the room and asking them to say something. Little did he think that they would stop at him and ask him to say a few words. Oh my goodness, the first time I ever saw his full eyes, they got as big bowls, and he thought, oh my God, what am I going to say? Now that doesn't seem like it would have been a hard thing, that's your aunt, but he didn't spend a lot of time there, so there wasn't a lot he could reflect back upon on the 75th birthday. The one thing that he did reflect upon is when we left, he said, we're going to Toastmasters. We're going where? He said, we need to go, because years and years before, he had gone to a Toastmaster meeting, but he didn't continue. And here was the opportunity that he realized, I need to be more confident. I need to be ready when that opportunity comes. So when he said, we're going to Toastmaster, I said, let me see what part of me decided I needed to be ready. Well, I accommodated him just to be the good wife. And we went to our first Toastmaster meeting here in Belleville, Illinois, where I live. And we attended St. Clair Toastmasters. And guess what? 12 years later, I'm still going. Guess who has the 2 DTMs? Not Mr. Toaster Man, but instead the Toaster follower. And I learned, and I started bringing people in. I never skipped an opportunity to let somebody know you would really enjoy this, especially those who say, oh, I don't speak in public. Oh, I don't need to do that. And I thought, this will help you communicate with your partner better. he and I have such a better line and stream of communication. What used to be grumbles and grouches, now we can sit down and talk about it. We listen carefully like we're evaluating. It's amazing. It's amazing what it can do for you. And not only in a public setting, it can be in a private setting, it can be with somebody, a friend who's going through something. You would be amazed all the different ways of communication this brings for you. So I want to say to you today, I know that we all have emotions and we don't think about them often. We go about our merry way, we do what we do, and we think about what we're thinking about and the impact on us. Today, you're focusing on the impact on others. There is service any way that you respond to somebody. It could be bad service. It could be good service. It may be nonchalant service. You may wake up today and say, I don't feel like smiling. I don't want to look at you. So you may find yourself looking at the ground, looking away, looking at the trees, doing everything you can. My attitude is, everybody I meet, I may never see you again, but it'll be such a pleasure to know that we connected. And lo and behold, one time we may see each other again. I'm going to give you this last story because I believe in telling stories. I think they inspire people. I went to Israel, 1997. I'm telling my age, 1997. And I went to the Feast of the Tabernacles and I got a chance to see, it must have been about 10,000, 15,000 people in attendance. When I went back to Geneva, Switzerland, where I was living at the time, there was a guest church that was using our church. And they had a group from Singapore. And a lady came up to me and said, I saw you in Israel. And I'm thinking, you have got to be kidding me. Are you sure it was me? She said, oh, it was you. And guess how come she remembered me? You got it. She said, I'll never forget that smile. We never knew each other. We didn't stop and talk to her. So I'm a little embarrassed because I didn't remember her. And she said, that smile took me the whole time. And she said, and when I walked into this building, I couldn't believe you. You make an impact. You may not realize it. You may not think about it, but what you're showing on the external gives people a glimpse of what's happening with you on the internal. And if we want to continue to be good service providers, we need to remember somebody's watching, even when you think they're not. Somebody sees you. And at some point in time, they'll come back and say, I remember you. And that's what you want. You want to do things that people remember. Last story for real, because I got the yellow light. Last story. I had worked with a children's group. And when I'm working with children, I always give them something to remember, like, what's her name and things like that. So I introduce myself as, I'm Mrs. Curry, spelled like the spice. 2 years later, I was in a grocery store and a young man walked up to me and said, that's Mrs. Curry, like the spice. Do something to make people remember who you are, whether it's your smile, whether it's an expression that they can easily remember, whether it's just your body language, whether it's your eyes, whether you say something because you heard them say something. Always remember, somebody out there, somebody somewhere is paying attention to you. You may feel invisible, but they are paying attention to you. So I leave you with this message. It starts on the inside. And if you practice it enough, you will know how to respond, not only from you to the other person, but also from how they respond. They may be the first ones to show the action, and you may be the one reacting. And I looked up to see what Google would have to say about service. Well, they gave me a definition of what they said, deep meaning of service. And I thought, ooh. So I'm going to give it to you. It said, it is a lifelong dedication and commitment to helping others. Remember that, helping others to have a better life and to meet higher standards. So service is not about us. It's about who we help, who we leave an impression and an impact upon. So hopefully after this, all those miles away, wherever you are, and I know Kayleen is way over there, down under, I know that if nothing else, you'll probably remember my smile. Mr. MC, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give her a big round of applause. And Smiley, yes, let's put, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. The first thing I entered the meeting room, and the first thing which I noticed was her smile. Not saying that was evident, that was there, and that's where I was like, mashallah, she has such a smiling face. Thank you so much for a wonderful talk. So much to learn from you, and something which you said, like the person you met in Israel, you didn't meet, but she remembered you. Something which comes to my mind, we just concluded our District Toastmaster Annual Conference. I had my area contest in Crown Plaza at the same venue. So we used to have a photo booth. We kept a photo booth as a memory. So we were clicking, that thing was new back then. So we had a digital photo booth and we were clicking photos as a memory. And I remember there was this one waiter who was looking and observing, and maybe me, I wanted that person to get an experience. So I called him up, we took a selfie like that. And that was one of the most beautiful picture I have ever taken. And this VTAC, after 7-8 years, this person comes to me, I remember him, and he remembers me for that thing which I did. And I felt so good. And I was like, wow. And he was like, sir, I remember you took a picture with me on the photo booth many years back, 2016. And I was, wow, he remembers. So yes, people do notice, people do remember. We need to just go out there and share. This world is a beautiful place and we need to contribute to that. With that being said, at this time, I would ask everyone, let's take 1 minute. If you have any question, just write it to me in the personal chat so I can keep it aside, and we will be discussing towards the end when we'll be having the panel discussion. Can we have that 1 minute? 1 minute to write down your questions so we can ask distinguished Toastmaster Elaine towards the end. You can write down your questions. Timer, please let me know once that 1 minute is over. Perfect. So can I request at this point, before we proceed, can I request all the beautiful people out there, if we can have a group photo before we proceed to the next segment, the next speaker? Can I request everyone, can you please switch on your cameras, put on that beautiful smile you carry for Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmaster Elaine Curry. See, And let's take a picture, group picture, Ms. Madam VPPR. Let's count till
On it. On it.
on it. Perfect. Let's count till 3. Everyone, please switch on your camera. Okay. Perfect. Let's take with the ones who are here. Toastmaster Sarah, are you clicking?
Yes, done. Sorry.
Done. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's proceed to our second speaker. Our second speaker brings 26 years of experience working in the Australian Public Service, Welfare Support Department in both customer service and leadership roles, along with her 19 years of experience as a leader in Toastmasters, serving in all club officer roles, district trio and support roles, division and area roles, and region advisor. Kayleen Ledger believes in serving and leading with a smile. Our speaker number 2 for today will be talking on the subject, serving and leading with a smile, distinguished Toastmaster Kayleen Ledger.
Serving and leading with a smile. As we just heard from Elaine, it leaves a lasting impression on others. It helps us to connect with other people, our team members or people that we may be serving if we're in a customer service role. As a customer service officer, I also learned that a smile can help diffuse or minimize some agitation from our clients as they come in. That was an unexpected learning of a smile, that it can actually help calm a situation. And I learned in Toastmasters that smiling and nodding, as Elaine mentioned, a gesture as well of nodding your head, that can encourage people. The amount of people that have come off stage and said, thank you for smiling and nodding at me. You gave me the encouragement that I needed to get through that presentation. So simple smile, it is something that is so easy for us to freely give. Isn't always easy. As someone that lives with mental health challenges her whole adult life, it can be difficult on a good day to smile, let alone a bad day. Today, I want to focus on what we can do when it is a difficult time for us to smile, but we're in a leadership position and we need to still fulfill that role and have that connection with the people that we're working with. And I'm going to focus on 3 key areas. The first area being self-care, then our support team, and also it's okay to be vulnerable. So starting with self-care. As a leader, it is essential that we look after ourselves. If we want to be able to lead our team and to be able to have that smile and have the smile reflected back at us from our team members, we have to take care of ourselves. I remember having to go to the district executive meeting, which back then when I was district governor, it was a 2-day meeting in Sydney, and I lived just out of Canberra at that time. And I remember having to go there, 2 full days of executive meeting with area back then governors and division governors and the whole leadership team, holding these meetings. As district governor at the time, I was the one that was chairing the meetings. I was going to have to keep everybody high energy and make sure we stayed on point and deal with the difficult situations as you do as a district leader, and also make sure everything was productive. And as I drove up that highway that day, I wasn't feeling happy. I wasn't my usual bright, bubbly self. I was looking forward to seeing the people, but my heart was broken. See, my grandfather had passed away a few days beforehand, and I was alone where I was living. My family was in Melbourne. I was grieving as I was heading up to Sydney to lead these meetings. So it was extremely important that I looked after myself around that whole weekend, because I had to deliver and be a leader, but I had to survive my grief as well. So the first tip that I would share with you from that experience is to take time and process that personal emotion yourself. I connected with my mother and I spent time talking with her. So talk to somebody that you trust. Take time to allow whatever the emotions being. For me, that time it was grief. Allow yourself to feel that emotion. Breathe. Breathe. That simple act of breathing can help get you in the right space to be there. Looking after our health as a leader is really important. We can't, what's the saying? You can't drink from an empty vessel or something. You know, we've got to look after ourselves. We've got to keep ourselves full so that we can serve other people. You might like to meditate. There might be a different type of escape that works for you. I love seeing water, anything with water. I like drawing as well. And meditation helps me. So whatever works for you, find something to allow you to have that mini escape to help you be ready for when you do need to be that leader and you need to be switched on and working through that moment. Something that I often did, not just that weekend, but so I told you I had struggled with mental health. I'm also an extreme introvert, which means district conferences I love and I hate at the same time, only because being around people, it drains my energy and I need to take moments to recharge. So as much as I love being around people, that introvert side of me needs moments to recharge and get my energy back in my own space to be able to operate. So at district conferences, in the run sheet, especially when I was a district leader, I scheduled mini breaks for Kayleen to go away from all the people. I might have had a cup of tea or I might have got outside for some fresh air. But just having those short 5-minute breaks so that I could recharge my energy and be in a better place to smile. Because if I had kept going, I tell you, by the end of the conference, well, not even the end of the conference, by the end of the first morning, you would have seen cranky Kay, not happy Kayleen. All right. So it's that having that simple sense to look after me and factor in my mini breaks. Thank you, Khalid. One can't pour from an empty cup. Thank you. I needed someone to share that with me. Thank you so much. That's exactly what I was trying to say before. Another thing that I often did around conferences is to allow me to have that energy so that I could keep smiling and connecting and not get overwhelmed, was I also took time before I arrived at the event to have that Kayleen-free space. So just little steps, little strategies that you can do to help you, whether it's you're grieving, whether you're an introvert like me, struggle with mental health, maybe you're just having a bad day that day, or you've just had a run-in with somebody. Think of what can you do to look after you so that you can then be there for your team and you can have the smile on your face. The second point was having a support team. 100%. And family, you know, I've got my brother here tonight. Elaine's got her husband here. Having family or having friends with you can be a fabulous support. I know there's been different times in my Toastmaster journey where I have had a difficult situation. Sometimes as a district leader, we have to deal with difficult situations. Sometimes we're the ones that seem to be copying all the little arrows coming to us, and we're trying to deal with everything and keep everything under control. And to be able to have somebody that you can talk to, obviously respecting confidentiality, but having people that you can talk to just to help process the situations and what's going on, is a way to put you in a better position when you do need to be the leader and turn up and smile at that time. You know, sharing the load with somebody, it lessens the weight on your shoulders. Here in Toastmasters, mentors are so important for everything we do, whether you are a new member, like Philip is a new member doing his icebreaker and my brother is his mentor, or you're a district leader, a club leader, any role in Toastmasters, embracing a mentor to be able to support you. Those times where you don't feel like smiling, when you've got the weight of the world on your shoulder for whatever reason it is, mentors can guide you. They can give you strategies. They can share their experience. Hearing that somebody else has experienced and got through something similar can help us when we're feeling overwhelmed. Hearing from their advice. And, you know, mentors have often, when I've thought, oh my gosh, I've got everything on my shoulders, I just can't go. They're like, why do you have to do it all yourself, girly? How simple is that? You know, we teach other people to delegate, but in that moment when my life is crumbling around and I'm still trying to be a leader, I'm trying to be superwoman, you forget the simple things that we're taught in all of our training about sharing the load and being able to delegate. And that's where your support person, whether it's family, friends, or mentors, can really help you with it's like they break through all that cloud and that grayness and they shine that light and they guide you to how you can lead in that difficult situation. Now, the final point can be controversial for some people, and that is, I believe it is okay to be vulnerable. Now, I know that can be hard to take in, and it is difficult if you're in the midst of the situation, depending on what it is. When I was at my darkest moments with my mental health, that was not the time for me to be vulnerable. That was the time for me to 100% self-care and support team. But there's been times in my life where I have been able to be in a position where I shared with my team that I was grieving and I was struggling, and they were open to helping me just like a mentor. They were able to help take some responsibilities. They gave me support. I know not everybody likes hugs, and COVID, not everybody likes hugs now with COVID, but I like hugs, and sharing that people would come and give me a hug, or they would give me words of comfort and they would support me. The greatest moment I had was in being vulnerable, and it showed me the impact that we can have by doing this as a leader, was when I was district governor in 2012. It was at the annual conference, like what you have just had, at the big gala dinner on the Saturday night. And I stood on stage, and during my presentation, that was the very first time I publicly told the world that I struggled with mental health challenges, and that it was a struggle every day to basically get up and live. And just, it was only a short part. It wasn't the full story. It was only a snippet. It wasn't a woe is me type moment. It was just a snippet of, this is the fact of, this is my life. And just sharing that little statement had a huge impact on my connection with the members in District 70 at the time. And after I got off stage, for the rest of the night, I had different members coming up to me, talking to me about their personal experience, their challenges, the fact that how can you be our district governor and have mental health problems? How can you be a leader with mental health challenges? And I was a district governor. And just by me having that courage to share that, I got so much love came to me in that night. It was just, it still blows me away. And the connections that I had. So something that wouldn't normally make me smile, the impact and the reaction from everybody else, and just knowing, like, I had people say to me, if you can be a leader with what you go through, I can. You know, people that thought that they could never put their hand up to be an area, back then governor, now area director, because they had struggle with anxiety or maybe struggle with depression. You know, they weren't living it like I was. They had, in their eyes, it was something not as big as my side. They're like, well, if you can be district governor, I can be area director. And that was the start for so many people. So me having the courage to be vulnerable and share a little bit of what I was going through at that time just opened the door for love, for smiles, and to be able to really connect with the audience, with the members in District 70. So while smiling is something I love, I often get commented on that I am a smiler. Even now that I've had to lose a tooth, it's like, oh no, I can't smile. And now I'm like, who cares? I am smiling. And you know, just side note, when I lost my tooth, I was devastated. It was, I normally don't care about things like that, but I was so devastated because everybody was going to see me without a tooth. Would you believe nobody has ever commented on there not being a tooth there? Who would have thought? Like, for me, it was such a huge thing. I'm not going to be able to smile. I'm not going to be able to connect. Well, I've proven you can. It doesn't have to be a perfect smile, and you can still connect with people. So we, smiling, as we heard from Elaine, that big, powerful connection, when you smile, it connects inside and out. And, people can remember from years ago if you had that connection with them through your smile. But when you can't smile, for whatever the reason is, as a leader, think about how you can look after yourself, what support team you can have to help you, and it is okay for you to be vulnerable. Because as a leader, even in our darkest moments, we can still serve and lead with a smile. Back to you, MC.
Thank you, DTM Killian. We know what to do, everyone. Let's do it. No, we send smiley. We send smiley. Can we get it? Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Kelly. You are one strong person with so much experience you carry with you, and that too with a smile. It doesn't matter which tooth it is. We can just see the bigger picture. We are looking at the bigger picture that you're smiling and you're sharing your smile with all of us. Thank you so much for that. With that being said, let us once again have 1 minute. Just write down your questions for our speaker number 2. And towards the end, we will be having it the panel discussion. Please write me in person your questions for distinguished Toastmaster Kelly. Perfect. Now we move to our final speaker for today. Ladies and gentlemen, our third and final speaker for today is a chartered accountant by profession and a public speaker by preference. Consultant helping small and medium enterprises with setting up, startup, transformation, and operations. Certified coach helping individuals and teams achieve their full potential. Member of clubs in District 20, District 80, and 82. Currently serving as the president of Pinnacle Advanced Toastmasters Club Sri Lanka, immediate past president of Bahrain Advanced Toastmasters Club, and has served many clubs in an all ExCom roles. He has also served in area and division leadership roles, speech contest winner in all categories up to district level, enjoys being a mentor, coach for aspiring public speaker. His aim in life is to leave behind useful knowledge that could benefit humanity and himself for eternity. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker number 3 for today will be speaking on the topic Lift to Rise, distinguished Toastmaster Faraz Farooq. DTM Faraz Farooq, all yours.
DTM Jahangir, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are. It's quite dark here in Colombo, so I'll just start with good evening. You see, there was a time when I was living in Bahrain, the building where I lived, the lift didn't work, and I lived on the 44th floor. I went down to drop my wife at work, but when I got back, the lift wasn't working, and I had an important meeting. So I had to climb the steps, floor by floor. Trust me, it was a completely foolish endeavor, but nevertheless, I did it with the greatest difficulty. I bought myself 2 big bottles of water, 2 bottles of Pocari, the drink, the energy drink, and I did that climb in about an hour. Only halfway through, I realized my heart wasn't going to probably hold on till I got to the top. But then, hey, stupid as I am, I just did it. But that's the day I realized the importance of a lift and why a lift is necessary to rise. And then when the lift eventually started working, I began appreciating it a lot more. You need a lift to rise. Now, this was just me and my little battle with 44 floors plus 3 floors of parking, so it was actually 47. But then in life too, we need these lifts to rise. We need others to give us these little lifts for us to rise. And when we do rise, we need to be the lifts to others for them to rise as well. And therein, my dear friends, let me take you back a little bit in history, and I will introduce, well, not really introduce, I'll talk to you about a few figures which I'm sure all of us will recognize. And then let's see if you could derive something out of it. And first of all, I would like to, and you'll have to bear with me because I'm using my background as an aid for my little talk. There was this gentleman who, if I can find his picture in the little thing, who we called Mr. Julius Caesar. Now, Julius Caesar was one of the most prolific conquerors the world had ever seen. And under his guidance, under his leadership, the Roman Empire stretched all the way from the Mediterranean, literally covered the entire Mediterranean, all the way up to the Atlantic, and way up to Central Europe, and even the northern coast of Africa. And this is what Julius Caesar did. He was a great leader. He had a lot of people that worked for him. And he went on with his little business of conquering the world, as it were. And then we had another person. I don't have a picture of him. They say this is his statue. Uncle Genghis Khan. And I call him uncle with all responsibility. This was yet another person who went through the entire known world at that time, and at one stage ruled the largest known empire the world history has ever known. The dark orange is during his lifetime, and the light orange were what his successors conquered. So this was the largest known empire known ever in history. And that was Genghis Khan. And one final person who I would like to talk to, and now you might be thinking, okay, this is turning out to be a history lesson. Get on with it for us. We'll get on with it just after I introduce the third gentleman. And this is a young man named Alexander, the Macedonian. By the age of 32, he had gone through the world as it was known to him then, and he too built up an empire that was very large, very vast, and covered a whole stretch of land, covering people of different ethnicities and different backgrounds. Now, by the age of 33, for whatever reason, sadly, Alexander passed away, and this is his funeral procession. He passed away, and there's of course a lot of stories that go on about how his coffin was made, and I think that's all myth, where he had his hands open and all of that stuff, but I think that's not really historical. The fact is, by the age of 33, he was gone. And literally a few years after that, this huge empire that he had built disintegrated into pieces. His generals started controlling bits and pieces, and that went on and on and on. Getting back to Uncle Genghis Khan. Now, I call him uncle with a lot of responsibility, because they say 1 in 7 human beings alive today trace their ancestry back to Genghis Khan. That's the legacy he left behind to humanity. So there's about 20 of us here. 3 of us are probably related to Genghis Khan, and probably one of you is related to me, so therefore Genghis Khan becomes my uncle. Maybe Jahangir Khan is a descendant of Genghis Khan. Jahangir, I thought I'll throw that joke in because of your surname. Anyway, the point is, how many people in the world today, if 1 in 7 of us trace our ancestry back to him, how many of us claim that ancestry? Hey, I'm a descendant of Genghis Khan. How many of us, even if we claim, are proud of that ancestry? Questions for us to think about. Which takes me back to our good friend Julius Caesar. I mean, yes, he was a great general. Yes, he conquered a lot of land. Yes, he had a huge empire and he named himself emperor. but we all know what happened to him. His own people wiped him out of the equation. Literally within a few years, his own people rebelled against him and wiped him out of existence, literally. I mean, they killed the man within the place that literally ruled Rome. Now, friends, why am I talking about all of these great conquerors and then the doom and gloom that they left behind? The topic that I'm trying to propose here is you got to lift to rise. Now, all of them did rise to a certain extent, but eventually their rise stalled at some stage, and there was a very fast and precipitous fall. Yes, they commanded huge armies. Yes, they commanded a lot of people. But did they do it to lift those people up, or did they do it with other objectives in mind? Those are the questions that we really need to think about. And I would humbly propose they probably did it not with the objective of lifting their people, but for their own personal gains, for their own personal victories, for their own personal glories, which is why very soon after they were out of the picture, everything just collapsed. Now we have this set of leaders on one hand. Now let us compare a slightly different set of leaders. Of course, in keeping with religious sensitivities and beliefs and respect, I'm not going to put pictures, but I just put pictures of people of different faiths and different places of worship. And let us assume this is a depiction of Moses, peace be upon him, of Lord Buddha, of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, these were another set of leaders. Yes, they may have formed little empires here and there, but these were usually and predominantly empires of people. They taught people things. They showed people good from bad. And today, thousands of years in the case of Moses, peace be upon him, perhaps 5,000 years in the case of Lord Buddha, 2,500 years in the case of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, 2,000 years in the case of Prophet Muhammad, about 1,400 years passed. But today, billions, millions follow these people. How many followers of Julius Caesar do we have? How many followers of Genghis Khan do we have? How many followers of Alexander we have? But perhaps one or two fans, but no followers. But we have millions and billions of followers of this set of leaders, historical figures. And why is that, my dear friends? Perhaps because this set of leaders I'm talking about actually worked to lift people up. They work to uplift the living standards of people. They work to uplift the moral standards of people. They work to show people right from wrong, perhaps. And today we have millions upon millions of followers of them. We still talk about them with respect. So as you can see, lifting others made their name rise, made their name shine. And even up to date, we have none of us here have met any of these four names that I've told you about, but we hold them with a lot of respect. When we call all the religious leaders, we give them this special religious appellation, which we say, peace be upon them. Why is that? Because of the respect that we hold for what they did to us. Now, that's a set of, obviously, a set of religious leaders from the past who we have probably not met or seen, which means it might be a lot more relevant if I perhaps spoke about maybe some historical leaders who we have known, who we have heard about, who are a lot more closer today than like this gentleman here. His ideas of talking about human equality brought him up, and up to date people quote him, people talk about him, people use him as an example. He worked to lift people up, and with that his name really rose, his name really shines. Another person as well who did a lot of good work, I'm not saying their names because all of us know who they are. The first one was obviously Martin Luther King. This is Abraham Lincoln. Another person who worked tirelessly for a cause he believed in. Working to lift people up and thereby getting their name. Of course, I mean, he did have a bit of a tragic end, but then it was in a good cause. And then somebody very close to home, I'm from Sri Lanka, and just north of Sri Lanka is India. So nothing will be left. I mean, we cannot leave this gentleman behind. Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, he was a lawyer, promising lawyer, practicing in South Africa. He had everything to look forward to. He was English educated. He had a great practice going. He just threw it all up and said, no, I'm getting back home. I need to work towards getting my people emancipated. And by the work of him, if you really think about it, we have 4 countries today that can directly relate to his hard work. It's not just India, my dear friends, because when India got independent, we had 2 nations, India and Pakistan, and then Pakistan subdivided to Pakistan and Bangladesh. And Sri Lanka, we were just there in the south of all of what was happening. And the British said, you know what, since we are leaving this area, we don't want you. You also get your independence. So all of us got independence. He worked to lift others. And we still talk about him today. And of course, none of my speeches will be complete if I do not bring my personal favorite, somebody who is still very, very much in the show. Giorgio Belalio, also known as Pope Francis. This man, I'm not a Catholic, but I did watch his acceptance ceremony when he was appointed as Pope, when he got elected as Pope. And on that balcony, he did something that really touched my heart. He went down on his knees, and there were millions of people out there, and here he has been just elected as the leader of all the Catholics in the world. And you know what he did? He did something amazing. He went down on his knees and he told everybody who was down there, please pray for me so that I do my job properly. He said, pray for me. I mean, he can pray for himself, but he wanted everybody to do it for him so that he could serve them. Friends, I gave 3 examples at the beginning, and then how their popularity or whatever you may be just plummeted after they were out of the equation. Then I gave 3 other examples. We still talk about them today. And I'm giving this living example. And here I am, a non-Catholic who actually adores this man, and I use him as a role model. Why would I do that? That's because of what he stands for, what he does, what he did for people. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a saying, we rise by lifting others. And that's exactly what all the leaders who we still talk about, all the leaders who we still respect did. They lifted others. The first step to leadership is servanthood. And once again, if you look at the qualities of the second set of leaders I have told you about, all of them, though they were leaders, they were actually servants of the people. They served the people. And by that, they established that they were leaders. They worked to lift others in their path to leadership. Friends, from all of these great people, there are lots of lessons for us to take. How did they get to this level? And I have been researching this whole thing about servant leadership for quite some time. And I managed to zoom in on about 6 different words which personify servant leadership. One thing, of course, humility. Pope Francis, head of the Catholic Church, on his very first day at the job, goes down on his knees and asks, requests people to pray for him. That's humility. He goes and washes the feet of prisoners. That's humility. Next, empowering the people you are supposed to lead. If you think about Martin Luther King, if you think about Abraham Lincoln, they were just one people, but they managed to bring about revolutions, not the violent kind, peaceful kind, by empowering the people they were leading. Think about Mahatma Gandhi. He only believed his movement can work based on non-violence, but it worked. It just didn't, not just for his people, it even worked for people of the region. I mean, my country being a great example. You need to empower and you need to have courage. All of these people had the courage to get about what they were doing. Authenticity is another thing that I have seen, that I have observed in good servant leaders. So these are some of the qualities that I have observed. So obviously, after having studied this, I think I have thought to myself, I'll try to imbibe these qualities in myself. Try to be a servant leader wherever I can, whether it be in my Toastmasters club, whether it be in my place of work, whether it be in my office, or in something that I like doing outside all of this. And yes, I'm a bit on the fat side, I'm a bit on the plump side, but believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I also run a bit. Not a bit, I run quite a bit. And this is me finishing off a race recently. And this young lady here, I don't know who she is. Up to date, I don't know who she is. But when I was running and I was about to lap her and I saw she was getting tired, and it was obvious this was the first time she was doing a bit of a long race. So what I did was I slowed down and I started chatting her up. But the one side of me said, okay, this young girl is probably going to think you're a pervert who's just trying to hit on her. But then I said, no, but that's not my objective. I want to give her encouragement and see if she can finish the race without giving up. And I had that little bottle of water with me, which is up in my hand here. I actually offered her a small drink and she took a sip or two. And then I kept pushing her till she completed the race. And then I made sure she crossed the finish line before me, not after me. And when I did that, and as she finished the race, she just turned around and said, sir, I don't know who you are, but I really want to thank you for what you did. Today is the first day, first time I've completed a long race in my life. And I will never forget this day ever. So that's a bit of servant leadership for you. But then this picture is not really about me, but about this person who's standing in the side here. His name is Mas Savangan. He is the person who convinced me to take up long distance running after I came back to Sri Lanka. He had obviously finished his race long before me because he's a seasoned runner. But if you observe, he was waiting for me before the finish line so that he can accompany me in the last half kilometer by the side. Now, I thought I was being a great servant leader to this little girl, but this gentleman who I know finished the race and then he came all the way back so that he can accompany me for the last half an hour, last half a kilometer till I finished the race. Now, friends, if that isn't servant leadership, what else is? He rose by lifting me, and I, in my own little way, rose by lifting her. Ladies and gentlemen, life is all about being servant leaders. Life is all about lifting others. Yes, we need to also get somewhere. We also need to rise up. But if we do it just all by ourselves, the journey is going to be very lonely. The journey is going to be very, very difficult. Like the 44+3 stories I climbed all alone with 2 bottles of water. That was very difficult, very painful, very lonely. Yes, I rose up, but it was very, very difficult. But this particular race, it was quite a hot day, halfway through the race, when I bumped into this young lady, and I decided, okay, I'm not going to do this race to beat anybody. I'm just going to do this race so that this lady figures out that she can run. The race just became so pleasant. And today I can actually sit here and share that story with you. And also share the story about my friend Mars, who did something that I never expected. And in a way, helped me rise by lifting me as well. Friends, in life, we will come and we will see a lot of lifts, we will see a lot of stairs. The journey up will inevitably take place. We will rise, but if we rise by lifting others, trust me, it's going to be a wonderful and a very enjoyable journey and a very fruitful journey. I encourage all of you to join me in this little journey as we rise by lifting others. Mr. MC, over to you.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Faraz Farouk. You see what an abandoned lift can do for you. It can make you run a marathon. Thank you so much for sharing. Wonderful.
Run a marathon behind a pretty girl.
If you say so. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have those smileys first? Reactions? Thank you, TTM. Farhas, can I ask everyone if you can have a minute and write down your question, and then we will move to our panel discussion. You can now write down your question for distinguished Toastmaster Faraz in the chat box. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our panel discussion. We have been given 25 minutes for that. I did receive some questions. Some questions are there from my side itself. And in between, if you have more questions, you can write them down as well. Our panelists are Distinguished Toastmaster Kayleen Ledger, Distinguished Toastmaster Elaine Curry, and Distinguished Toastmaster Faraz Farouk. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you, timer. To begin with, I would like to ask Distinguished Toastmaster Elaine Curry. They say that service with a smile costs more than one can think. It does have a cost, a hidden cost. Service with a smile. What do you have in take for that?
Well, that's an interesting question and an interesting thought and philosophy. I think the smile, the value of it is far-reaching. So the cost, if I were to try to compare it to something, is priceless. I think we don't recognize just how important it is, not only for you to hold wealth for yourself, has very minor meaning. And I say that because we can't take it with us. One day we're going to leave here, and all the wealth that you left behind, someone else will use, maybe not the way you would have liked it to be used. So the smiling, the cost of a smile does not bring greater wealth than the pricelessness that that smile will carry on. People will talk about that smile when you're gone. I think it's you can't put a price on it.
Thank you, DTM Elaine. DTM for us,
Yes, sir.
what role does empathy play when it comes to whether it be customer service, whether it be a service provider, when you're on the front? Empathy, what roles does it play as a
See,
leader?
all of these frontline roles, I would like to call them front office roles, whatever they may be. You can say customer service, it could be perhaps a receptionist at a hotel, it could be the waiter who takes your order, and it could be the person who interviews you for the very first time at an interview, whatever these people facing roles. In order for these roles to be successful, the person who is playing this role needs to have a certain sense of empathy. They need to connect with who they are dealing with. If that exercise is to be successful. So empathy certainly plays a very important role. As an example, if you just take the few examples I rattled out, say, take the example of a reception person at the front office at a hotel. And you have just walked in the middle of the night and you're a genuine traveler, you don't have a booking, and you say, hey, listen, I missed my flight, my next flight is not until for another 12 hours time, I need a place to sleep, I went to a couple of hotels, they're all fully booked, can I get a place to stay? If the person behind the counter has empathy, but doesn't have rooms, let's say the person doesn't have rooms, but has empathy, what's going to happen is, they say, listen, sir, we are a bit full today, we are fully booked, we don't have a place for you, but let me see if I can help you out. That's empathy. That's important for somebody in the front office. Think of a waiter, a person taking your order, especially like, say, somebody like me who has dietary restrictions. I can only eat halal or kosher, I don't eat anything else. And there is this waiter who while I'm placing my order, I keep asking, hey, is this halal, is this kosher, is this halal, is this kosher? And if the waiter did not have empathy, he's going to like, come on, man, why don't you make up your mind first and then call me? But on the other hand, sir, may I suggest you try item number 7. That's the best kosher meal we have on the menu. Problem solved. I'll go with your recommendations, sir. So yeah, empathy plays a big part, DTM Jahangir, and you need to have that when you're playing these roles.
Yeah. Thank you, DTM for us. DTM Kelly, you did mention about mental issues. You did talk about that. Now, I do understand as a leader at a position as big as district governor, as you mentioned, there comes a time a lot of people out there who are serving at top-notch positions are going through mental issues, but they didn't really talk about it. For one reason or the other, they don't feel comfortable talking about it. For people out there like those, what would you recommend? What would you suggest? What is the best way for them to, take care of that? Because mental health is very important. And I know I have experienced a lot of my colleagues serving as leaders at top positions, but back in the background, they're going through a lot, but they hide it behind that beautiful smile. So what do you have to say on that?
That fabulous question. The most important thing I think our leaders should be doing is talking to someone. You don't have to do, when you're going through that mental health, it may not be the right time for you to be vulnerable and share with everybody like I did at a conference, okay? Number one is to look after you. So you want to make sure that you have your support network, whether it's family, friends. I've seen psychologists, I've been to psychiatrists, whatever support you need, make sure you are getting that, because you've got to look after yourself first. So talk to somebody. I've lost people to suicide because they didn't think that they could talk to somebody. That, reach out and speak to somebody. I'm not sure what it's like in the country you live in, but where I live, we've got mental health services. So if you don't have someone, there are services you can reach out to. Reach out to someone. Everybody here, if you've got no one, reach out to me. We have to talk to somebody and know that you're not alone. When you are well, when your mental health is under control or at least manageable, and you have the courage, start talking about it, even if it's only in your club. That it has blown me away, the impact by me sharing and letting people know that I struggle and daily struggles with mental health. Every time I do it, I just think to myself, if I'm helping one person who hears, that's a win, that's a gold. And that's what I do it. That's why I now that I'm okay. Now, if I'm having a bad day, if I'm struggling because I've had things happen in my life, I won't talk about it. But when I'm well enough to talk about it, I share because it can impact. But number one, always look after you. Back to you.
Thank you. So now I'll move towards the questions I have received from the audience. To begin with, there is question number 1. What do you think of the fake smile when we have no choice? Distinguished Toastmaster Abdul Fateh asked, and it is directed to DTM Elaine. What do you think of the fake smile when you have no choice?
First of all, let me just say the fact that you smile, the fact that you made the decision to smile knowing that this is expected of you is honorable. Whether it's a fake smile, whether it's a genuine smile, there's somebody out there who knows the difference. Somebody out there realizes that you're doing it and maybe you don't feel like doing it, but you're doing it anyway. They consider that, and they consider it respectful because you took the time to do it. Don't worry about it. Everybody knows that we all have times when the smile that you portray may not be the happy smile. It may be the semi-happy smile. It may be the smile upside down, but you chose to make it look like it's right side up. Don't worry about it. All of us, and I appreciate Kayleen's messaging today was so powerful. All of us have a time when it's not going to be the big happy smile. And that's A-OK. And I hope you got that message today.
Thank you, DTM Elaine. DTM Faraz, there is a question for you. Do you agree that service to others could change people's lives instead of changing yours as a leader? By R.D. Flores. Do you agree that service to others could change people's lives instead of changing yours as a leader?
The short answer is yes, and the long answer is also yes, and I'll tell you the difference. Serving others, by its definition, is to help others grow. So that's going to happen regardless. And that's a short answer. And the long answer is, at times when you serve others, there seems to be, and again, this probably comes from the fact that we're all human, and humans start building expectation. There's an expectation that somebody who serves should continue to serve others. And sadly, at some times, at some stages, people forget that the person who is serving also has to grow, also needs to be served at times. And that happens, and I'm not blaming anyone. It's just because we are human, sometimes happens. There's expectations keep building up to such an extent that the person who's serving ultimately ends up only serving and not really gaining much. However, now that's practical, but there is also a philosophical side to this. Even if the person who serves ends up just serving others without actually seeing any growth or any improvements to themselves, should remember the whole concept of servant leadership revolves around serving. And if we serve others, there are always situations and instances where we will learn and we will grow. It may not be directly apparent, but it's bound to happen. As an example, I coach and train a lot of people in their speeches. Both while I was in District 20, I used to do that quite a bit, and now that I moved to District 80, I do that quite a lot here. And I'm also attached to District 82, so I do that a bit with some of my club mates there. In fact, DTM RD Flores is a club mate of mine from World Travelers Toastmasters, which is District 82 based. Now, while we train others, yes, they rise, their speeches get better, they would start improving on their own performances. But subconsciously, there are little things that improve in ourselves, like, say, for instance, our ability to listen, our ability to analyze speeches, our ability to give feedback, our ability to grasp the positives of a speech, our ability to try and avoid the negatives of speeches. So the point is, yes, if we keep serving, others are going to grow, and perhaps we may not grow as much as we like. However, there are subtle changes in our own psyche, in our personality that will happen. So therefore, don't worry. Continue serving others. Let others grow. Let others keep growing, because deep down inside, very subtly, you too are growing.
Thank you, DTM, for us. Question for Kellen. I hired a temporary worker who clearly had some mental issues. Should I ignore his problems or bring them to his attention? This is from Toastmaster Lement. He's asking. He hired a temporary worker who's having some mental issues. Should I ignore his problems or bring them to his attention? What do you say on that?
Yeah, it's such a difficult situation when you're a leader and your staff member or team member has a mental health situation. We give people feedback on performance when we're in a leadership position. So I think you could bring their attention to it. You'd have to be very careful with how you say it, because I know the comment is that they have a mental health issue, but it is our perception they've got a mental health issue. So be really careful with yourself. I know here where I am, we'd be really cautious with it. The way I would have done it when I worked in the government here, I would have let them know about the services that were available. I would have asked questions. So I would have asked, depending on what the situation was, I would ask, are you okay? I noticed that you seem to be getting a bit stressed out or frustrated, or I noticed something, whatever it was, I would notice. But I'd be really cautious with the language I use. So much so, this is where I would role play with my mentor or my supervisor or somebody like that, just to make sure that the word choices aren't going to come across in the wrong manner. I know here, if I had a staff member that I thought was suicidal or something like that, we have medical professionals that we can actually ring and they will come in. Like if it's a life-threatening situation, if it's more they're seeming a bit depressed or they get a bit anxious or something like that, yeah, I might approach it in the way where I would pose some, open questions to try and get them talking, but also letting them know whatever services. Where I come from, we had an employee assistance program that specifically was designed to help people with any mental health challenges, whether they're grieving, whether they're going through separation, or all of the different types of mental health challenges there. So I hope that helps. It is a hard question because you're not a professional. So it's really, you've got to be careful with how you deal with it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm wondering, that's a question I'm reading out. I'm wondering how Elaine deals with cynical people. Cynicism appears to be on rise nowadays. This is by Sharif. He's not here anymore, I believe. He did request to share the recording. So team, please share with him the recording. He needs the answer from Elaine on that. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. How do I deal with cynical people? It's an interesting question for me because I can be very cynical. And I know it's not the right thing to do. You don't return it, but I consider it sometimes cynical when I find a way that the person self-discovers, okay, I wasn't really being nice and I wasn't really being sincere. And they know how to recognize when it's coming in underneath it and saying, okay, let me rephrase that. I can receive cynicism because I know how to give it and I know how to curb it and correct it so that we can get to the root of what you're really trying to say to me. It's okay. I let people know I don't break easy, so it's okay. You can be truthful and you don't have to try to sneak in through a back door. So cynicism is something, I'm a discerner by nature. I discern when people are coming in a certain way and I'm open and honest. I will let them know. I really think what you're trying to say to me. And we take it from there. Thank you for the question. And I hope it answers it for him.
Thank you. Thank you. Lydium, for us, does smiling cause any psychological changes to the brain or the body?
Okay, I'm not a doctor, but one thing I can tell you is I love to smile, as you can see. Yeah, smiling is important. Even in the worst of times, even in the saddest of saddest of times, if you have the courage and the ability to smile, things will feel a lot better. So whilst I'm not a medical professional, I know from experience and from practice, smiling does make a difference. Hey, even Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has said smile because a smile is charity. So here, ladies and gentlemen, this is my little charity to you. Keep smiling because it does make a big difference in the way we see the world, the way we interact with the world. Just imagine you walking into office one day and you're all grumpy and all. The conversations that you're going to have with your colleagues, with people you meet in the lift, is at best is just going to be grunts and. But on the other hand, you walk into office, all smiles, say hello to the security guards, you say hello to the person who's cleaning the little corridor, you say hello to the person whose job is to switch on the lights and what have you and keep your water. The day is going to be amazing. I have gone through a lot of tough times, but in the middle of all of those, I try my best to smile, and trust me, I feel the difference. I feel the energy, I feel the positivity and the vibe. So yeah, I certainly believe it does have a lot of physiological and biological benefits. Once again, no medical background, but experience and life has taught me smile.
Thank you. Kaylin, there is a question for you. What was the turning point for you that it was okay to be vulnerable? What was that turning point for you when you decided it's okay to be vulnerable?
It really was that moment as district governor, standing in front of, up on stage in front of 420 something Toastmasters, family and friends of Toastmasters. And the sentence I said, I was actually presenting an award to a community leader. And one thing that they do was around mental health. And the sentence I said was, as somebody that lives with mental health challenges every day, I appreciate the work that she does. That was the sentence. And the impact that one little sentence had gave me the courage to sign up and do a speech at my club on my mental health challenges. And since then, I've done number of different speeches. Some have been more like a keynote type presentation, just because of that one little sentence at that meeting. And it just blew, because I said a lot of stuff in that presentation. There was a lot of recognition for the person, but so many people picked up on that one little sentence. And that just showed me the power. It was their reaction and the impact on them that just made me go, for me to be able to give a voice about a topic that people can't always talk about, and just that impact it had on and it was all different impacts. It was all some even talked about friends that had mental health. It wasn't all the individual. It just, yeah. And like that was over 10 years ago. And people still will talk to me if I bump into them and they were there. They'll mention something about that. That one sentence. It was, yeah, powerful.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, these were the exceptional speakers we were having. They shared their expertise, they shared their experiences, they shared why we should carry the beautiful smile we have on our face all the time. Please give them a big round of applause. It was an honor for all of us to witness and listen from all of you. Yes, like DTM Elaine did mention that she was never aware that she would be reached out for this particular session, but there are people out there who are following for us, who are following Kaylee, who are following Elaine, who are following Jahangir, who are following all of you. They are listening. They are seeing what you're doing as a leader. Just carry on doing what you are capable of and keep on bringing in more leaders to this beautiful world. With that being said, I would like to hand over back to our Master of the Ceremonies. Our club president.
Thank you, DTM Jahangir. Please give a big round of applause to our keynote speakers and our Master of Ceremonies for their wonderful job. It was really a thought-provoking in a good manner, that it really made us think, ponder, and smile all the way. And it was really inspirational in the way that, all of you shared your experiences that really touched our hearts, and we could, in a manner that we could relate to. And that's what we really like, as Toastmasters, that's what we learned. We put our difficult experiences, massage it together, put it together in simple words so that everybody can understand and relate to it. And that's what makes us feel that we are not alone. We are there with somebody, and that's what leaders are. And you are truly are leaders to me. Please give them again they deserve it. Big round of applause. Thank you very much. Can I next ask our VP Education just to have their certificate of appreciation from the club displayed, please? Thank you. DTM Elaine, please accept this certificate of appreciation from Bahrain Advanced Toastmasters Club for your very inspirational keynote speech, service from the inside out. Thank you very much. Next, we have we have DTM Killian Ledger with us. Very wonderful speech, serving and leading with a smile. Thank you to DTM Killian. And also to DTM Farhad Farooq for his lift to rise. Who knew accidents and misfortune can also make you rise? It's your attitude that depends on it. Thank you very much, DTM Farhad's speech. And least but not all, to our prodigal member, DTM for Jahangir Khan, for serving us as a wonderful Master of Ceremonies and a panel moderator. Thank you, DTM Jahangir, for your wonderful service and your wonderful panel moderation. But least but not all, somebody silent who was behind us, and we did not see them, but was making sure that the event went on time. Our VP Education, Toastmaster Noha Madani, for serving as a timer for this wonderful event. Thank you, DTM Toastmaster Noha Madani, for your support. With this, we come to the end of the program. But before that, I'd just like to just take some feedback from the audience. I'll just choose some random from some of the people that have not really spoken about. Can I kindly ask Toastmaster Philip, who is our youngest and newest Toastmaster, for his feedback on the event and how we can improve ourselves and what you found beneficial. As I said earlier, Toastmaster Philip, we are learning. We are always learners. Over to you.
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. For me, it's a learning journey. I learned a lot from this. I mean, how we are doing the panel discussion and how Mr. Khan is doing the moderator. Is a good learning experience, and also as a leader, we can serve and lead. So it is very important. So it is a very important message that I get from this panel discussion. It's very valuable information that I get it. And yes, and also what I can reflect is I grew up in village. So normally we are not very conversational, but I mean, it's whenever we meet people, we always smile. It's just a way of the greeting. So I can reflect on that, and then the importance of the smile, and also acknowledging people all life of the all life of the people. I mean, all the people we meet. I mean, somebody appreciate somebody. Even though we are voluntary, how can I say? Somebody don't. We are risk. We taking risk. Somebody did, even though they did not appreciate. We can. I mean, we have to give our. I mean, is most presentable smile to them. I mean, is even though they don't give. They don't appreciate that. It's okay. I think we can take the vulnerability and appreciate ourselves and then just be ourselves. This is a thing I'm getting from the discussion, and then
Thank you, T.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
Thank you very much for your feedback. Absolutely. You see, we all know that somebody is going through something, but that tiny gesture of feedback and a smile just gives us encouragement and makes us feel that we are not alone. That, in my opinion, is one of the biggest things that we need, because after all, mankind or human beings are social animals. We need the comfort, even though we might say that we are independent, but we are not. We need some support. All of us do. Thank you very much, Toastmaster. Can I just have feedback from Toastmaster Adi Flores?
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, it was very insightful and very helpful. There's a saying that your your experiences doesn't become a story unless you share it. And what an insightful sharing today from all the speakers tonight and from all the feedbacks and questions from those who participated. I will just tell you a little story when I was starting in my new company. That was 10 years ago. An Arab director of mine wasn't smiling. And every morning I do an effort of greeting him with a smile. Good morning, sir. And he doesn't smile back. So at first I thought I was doing the wrong thing. But later on, as I kept on doing it, I was not just serving myself to feel better, sharing that positive energy, but eventually that leader, that director of mine, eventually said, for the first time with a smile, "Hi, Ardi, good morning." And that changed. A smile can change a lot of people and a lot of things. You never know how much impact you'd be doing to a person's lives. Just keep on doing as servants, as leaders, because although some people will say that this is, people will not be grateful for what you're doing, but you never know how much impact you'd be doing to their lives. Later on, it may not be eventually showing right away, but later on, there's an impact definitely. So the seeds of goodness, it all starts with a smile. And always be kind. even though how small it is, but it will definitely go a long way. Thank you to the organizers and to everybody here. It was such a great experience listening to all of you and looking at your beautiful smiles. Thank you, leaders, and continue to serve. And let us check with one another, the group chats. Let us make use of the group chats. Social media is a very important tool, a platform that we could reach to each other, check with each other, and check on others' mental health every now and then. Thank you and good night.
Mr. President, you're forgetting Zoom etiquette now.
Sorry.
Don't tell him, no, don't tell him.
Thank you to Toastmaster Adi for their wonderful explanation and the feedback, and also sharing your life experience with that. It's really true that we smile not for ourselves, we smile for others. But also, as DTM Kailin said, we have to make sure that we are not taking it out from an empty vessel. We have to fill ourselves first. And that is something that we seek and we give. And that is only when it appears very genuine. And that's when you break through to others. Thank you, Toastmaster Adi. Yes, Toastmaster Abdullah. Kindly your feedback.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you.
It was really nice to have this meeting, and especially about something that I really love and do every day, smiling. And even my colleagues at work, even though I'm smiling all the time, they just kind of bother me with, why are you smiling always on the phone? Is there something that we should know? And and smiling, I believe, is something that is really contagious. Once you start smiling, everyone else will start smiling around you. And beforehand, when I used to work in Saudi Arabia, there was a person who I used to see. We used to pass by each other, we didn't know each other, and both of us straight faces. No one talking to anybody. And one time I just made eye contact with him and I smiled, and he smiled back. And later on we came to know each other, we became friends. And actually him along with his fellow colleagues, they visited my place in Bahrain. So it was just, it started from a smile, and then they visited my place, and now we are all friends. We all contact each other between now and then, just from a smile.
Absolutely, Toastmaster Abdullah. As they say, the best icebreaker is a smile, and that smile from your heart, and you start connecting with people. Thank you very much for that wonderful feedback. And did somebody ask you why you are smiling? They sometimes ask me the same in my office sometimes. And I tell them, like, I just smile about things that people take life too seriously when it's too short and you need to enjoy it. And that just makes me laugh, like how seriously we take ourselves. Maybe you have a certain joke also hidden behind your smile. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback. If anybody has something to say, even our panelists and if they have something to comment about of today's event. DTM Kailin, do you have something to comment?
I'd just like to thank you for this wonderful opportunity, not just for me, but for my brother who's gone to bed because it is 1 o'clock in the morning, and Philip was staying. Thank you. If Ali hadn't reached out, the three of us wouldn't have had this opportunity to meet you, and I wouldn't have had this opportunity to push myself to deliver this keynote on this topic again. And this is a really good thing that you're doing. So yes, feel free to put me on your mailing list. I don't know how many nights I will be able to come to the session, but yeah, invite me. This is such a great platform. And I love the style of the keynotes and then having a panel discussion afterwards. And you've just been all warm and welcoming with the smiles, but it was more than that. It was, yeah, it shined through. So thank you.
Thank you, DTM Kailin. And thank you for your wonderful feedback. DTM Elaine, any feedback from your side?
Wow. Do you see me smiling?
Yes.
You guys were fantastic. I loved the attention. I could see that people were listening. Food for thought. It may not all come out at once, but I know that you'll be thinking of me. A couple of times you'll be walking by, somebody will smile and you'll say, that's what she was talking about. Thank you for the opportunity to share my experience, my message with you, and I hope it inspires you to go out and share that smile with somebody else. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, DTM Elaine and DTM Kaleen. DTM Faraz, I know you are a member for us, but any feedback from your side of what we could have done better?
I've got some very critical feedback.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Now you want to put an end to our smiles.
Now, I just want to tell my other fellow keynote speakers, it was a deep honor and privilege to have shared the stage with on the screen with the two of you. Learned a lot, very, very informative and very useful sessions. Just so that the both of you know, I'm speaking on behalf of the club now because I am a member of Bahrain Advanced Toastmasters as well. These webinars, what we do is we actually record them and then we put them up on our YouTube channel as well. So even though we had an audience of about 25 to 30 now, what we see is usually people who can't make it because of other commitments or whatever do come back and take a look at our YouTube channel. So this is going to be preserved for posterity as long as YouTube lasts at least. So, and we have found that we get lots of positive comments from visitors who see our YouTube channels and then come and visit our meetings later date. So, so you see, so that's the kind of reach that we have. And occasionally, based on all the work that we do in the OiG, you all of a sudden we have one OiG where we'll have like 80, 90 people turning up just because they've seen our videos on the YouTube and they come in. So, that's something I just want to let both of you wonderful ladies know that, that's the kind of reach that we have. And having done this, we have even attracted people of the caliber of, past international president Richard Peck as our speaker at one stage. So he was also quite impressed with how this was going on. So thank you so much. And we love this format. It's nice. It's just 20 minutes. It's not difficult on the speakers. It's not difficult on the audience. And it gives enough of room for us to do a keynote and then to also participate in a panel discussion. And from a club's point of view, this gives opportunity for our club members to actually do the longer speeches, some of the level 5 speeches, plus also do the panel discussion project. So that's how we conceived this whole idea of having the OiG, plus, of course, sharing the knowledge that was and all the experience that was there from the previous legacy program. So thank you so much for being part of this, and we look forward to welcoming you both again. Mr. President, sorry I took a bit of your limelight, but I thought I'll just throw this in. Back to you, sir. You're forgetting about Zoom now, and we need to get back to Zoom meetings.
Yes, yes, we need to understand now the etiquette of Zoom. Thank you, DTM Faraz. And again, limelight shade and smile shade are something that enhances us together. It just does not take it away from oneself, but it really multiplies it. Thank you. And today's meeting, we extended a little bit of time, but again, hey, time flies when we are having fun, doesn't it? And we really had fun. And thank you to all of you for attending, and especially to our speakers for their time and their valuable input and making it enjoyable. With this, I thank you again, everybody, and adjourn our meeting for the OiG officially for the club. Thank you very much. Bye.